I'll bring up Jeff Morgan. He got a little bit more to talk about on this issue as we try to tackle this thing.
Thanks so much, Darrin. I just want to say that everybody that's spoken up here, you've been quite the inspiration to me, and I know it's God that did the work in you, but your acts of faith are a real testimony, and give me things to work on to see that. So what happened is, with the issue of fatherlessness, it was Vladimir Lenin who said, destroy the family, destroy society. And when you look at what happened in Russia back in the 1917, 1918, there was a small handful of revolutionaries who went into Russia and they basically destroyed. They created an upheaval in Russia. One of the things, well, they actually did two things. One of the things that they did, they said marriage was no longer under the jurisdiction of the church. They put it under the jurisdiction of the state. Now, Vladimir Lenin knew he had to weaken two institutions in order to bring communism into Bolshevik Russia. That would be the church and the family. So the first thing he did, he took the marriage away from the church, but he did something else as well. He created what we now call no-fault divorce, or basically unilateral no-fault divorce. Why is that? Because if you destroy the family, you destroy society. And when you make it such that it's very easy for one person in a marriage to walk away, for any reason, for no reason, you can make up a reason, it's easy to do that. Hey, I married her, but this lady looks finer than her. You know the whole thing. And the same thing with women. I married him, but now he's got more money and stuff like that. So it's very easy. And what does that create? It creates instability for the family. Marriage is from a societal perspective, it's for the family. It is that which binds a father and a mother together to rear children. Strong marriages are essential to a strong society. Anyway, I went through a no-fault divorce in April, June, July of 2012. And I was shocked because no one thought that ever should have happened. I went actually and met with my ex-wife's attorney, and he told me, Jeff, you're getting a divorce and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. And the interesting thing was that my ex-wife wrote to me and she was like, well, I was holding out hope to the very end, this, that, and it was something that never should have happened. I thought it was the stupidest divorce in the state of Texas. And the judge said, well, you know what? There's really nothing you can do about it. He told me afterwards, and I've got this stuff on videotape as well, or audio tape. He said, I just cannot deny a divorce. I said, actually, you could. No, I couldn't. I just can't tell somebody you don't need a divorce today. So what has happened in the state of Texas is marriage has no legal protection. You think you're getting married to somebody, well, you're married as long as the other person wants to be together with you. Marriage, when we get married, we actually change our legal status from single to married. And yet, without any reason whatsoever, a judge can say, we're going to destroy that marriage. We talked about issues like religious liberty. For many people, marriage is an institution or an ordinance of the church. If you're a Catholic, what do you believe? It's a sacrament of the church. Why is the state being involved with the sacrament of the church? This is something that is part of your religious duty. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago that we had some pastors in Houston talking about homosexuality, and the mayor wanted to requisition all their sermons to see what they were preaching and everything. We've already done this. We've let the state come in and destroy the institution of marriage. Yes. And we need the church to rise up again and to say, no more. Yes. What did Jesus preach about marriage? A man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. But therefore God has joined together. Let no man tear asunder. And that includes the state. And you go into a place where you have absolutely no ability to defend yourself. Once a person files for divorce, the divorce is already a predetermined outcome. You talk about lack of due process, there is no due process. The attorneys will go in and they'll talk about, well, we'll negotiate a better deal for you. Well, my deal was this. I got married and I intended it to be for life. I got married under God, and this judge is going to say, well, there's nothing I can do about it, and he will destroy. It's not just the marriage, but the family. We've talked about issues of children, ACEs, divorce being one of the big contributors to ACEs. We have a policy in the state of Texas right now that for all intents and purposes is the exact same thing that Vladimir Lenin imposed upon Bolshevik Russia. And when Ronald Reagan signed no-fault divorce into being in 1969, he asked about it, he questioned it, but they lied to him. Later on, at the end of his life, he said it was the biggest mistake he made in public office. Talked with Governor Mike Huckabee. He said, no-fault divorce is the worst thing that has ever happened to America. So basically, since 1969 through today, we have a policy almost nation. Well, look, it didn't take long for many states to adopt this, that you had no protection for the family. You had family destruction at will. We've had 50 years of family destruction, and now we're surprised that our society is experiencing the turmoil that it is. We need fathers and mothers in the home, and as Darrin was saying, we need fathers in the home. Now, just recently, we got some data from the Office of the Attorney General, and I did the analysis of it, but I believe very strongly that there is a bias against fathers being in the home. I put out the video about it, and based on something that the Attorney General did, I put it out there. And I think that you cannot say that there is no bias against fathers being in the home. You know, there might be a stepfather, there might be somebody else, there might be this, but a real father, like Robert, gets kicked out of his children's lives. And yes, it's hurtful for him, and it's hurtful for the children. The effects of divorce often are transgenerational. And if we have weak families, Pastor, we're going to have weak churches, aren't we?
That's right.
You know, you hear people talk about, well, my kids, they just don't, you know, I don't understand why they're quitting. Well, did you quit on your marriage? Oh, so you modeled this before them. Every marriage we know has had difficult times. But, and for those people who've been through divorce, you know, it's not a guilt trip or anything, but I'm just saying that we've made divorce so easy, and we don't talk about the family destruction. We don't talk about the impact to our children and our grandchildren.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you tell somebody, you know, ma'am, if you get divorced, it's going to affect your grandchildren. You still want to do this? You know, if I talked to your wife, Darrin, and said, you know, Tiana, if you divorce Darrin, your grandbaby here is going to suffer. That would, you know, and I know that you're not dealing with this issue, but we need to quit whitewashing the issue of divorce.
That's right.
It is a sin.
Yeah.
And if you look at even some of the Democrats have said we need to make divorce harder. One lady who was going to be on the Texas Supreme Court, or on the United States Supreme Court under Barack Obama possibly, she saw what this did to her brother who committed suicide. Robert, I think, or somebody talked about suicide here. And even as a liberal Democrat, she said, no fault divorce, we have got to change that. And she talked about the issue of divorce. 40 to 50% of divorces are what they call needless divorces. And we've made it so easy. And the state, I believe, is committing fraud on people who enter into the marriage covenant, marriage relationship, because you think you're entering into something for life. And it's very easy to prove that. Go to the state of Texas and tell them I want a 2-year marriage license. They won't give you that, will they?
No.
There is the expectation of permanency. But with unilateral no-fault divorce, which they call insupportability, the Texas Family Code 6.001, for any reason, for no reason, you can make up a reason and you can get a divorce. Perjury is now rampant in family courts. So I would say that, you know, when I look at these issues, Darrin, a lot of what we're talking about here is as the result, the consequences on the war on the family and the war on fathers. Father absence, mother absence. We're not saying one over the other. Children need both parents, and they need both parents in an intact home together, learning how to accept and love one another. That is the best interest of the child. The state comes down and says, well, you know, we have the best interest of the child. You will not have the best interest of the child in almost any instance by advocating for divorce. And we've seen the effects that's taken place throughout the communities.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, as a conservative, I've gone to Republicans to sponsor stuff, and I've gone to Democratic things, and I want to tell the Democrats too, you know, you say that you represent minorities. The minority communities are more impacted than white communities. You ought to be crying about this more than I am. The divorce attorneys will destroy families for money. And the judges will turn a blind eye to, and the judges will say, like my judge, you know, it's not my fault. Oh, it's not your fault. Is this your signature here? Yes, it's my signature, but it's not my fault. I had to sign it. Oh, did somebody have a gun to your head? No, but he had to do it.